its backside in a grassy area. United Airlines telling Fox News no injuries, that all 160 passengers and 6 crew members aboard were evacuated and bused to an airport terminal. The FAA has been notified, United Airlines not saying what happened, but that it's working to remove the plane, which is not impacting other flight operations. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
One of the most iconic spring break destinations wants to break up with the holiday.
Florida is making it very clear safety is their #1 priority for residents and partiers for a good reason. Last year's was very, very disruptive for many areas here. In large crowds, we saw that led to violence. 2 people were fatally shot. Police made over 500 arrests and even confiscated more than 100 guns. But this year, it's all about prevention. Not everyone is on board, though. A Miami-Dade County Commissioner called the city's message tone deaf, implying Miami Beach was targeting black visitors and trying to make it difficult for them to visit.
Fox's Dana Marie McNichol in Miami Beach. Crews will be enforced, curfews that is, will be enforced across Miami Beach, along with bag checks and DUI checkpoints. Last month was the hottest February on record, according to the European Union's climate agency, and scientists say the winter as a whole and the world's oceans set new high temperature records. The scientists say it clearly shows long-term human-caused warming from the burning of coal, air, and gas, along with a boost from natural El Niño's warming of the Central Pacific. I'm Lee Silasara. This is Fox News.
Hello, everyone. This is Lawrence Sutton, Free Speech News, with my partner in crime, Chris Morris. Then we have our special guest, Kip Capley. Hadn't seen Kip in a while. How you been, Kip?
Make America great again. We're doing good. I
That's
appreciate
right.
you.
And then also we have a guest with us, Mike Sawyer with American Independent Power. Free Speech News. We are not politically correct, but
biblically correct.
And there's 2 things we don't discuss here. Politics and religion. So start us off, Chris. I know you have stepped your foot into a hornet's nest, and I have been seeing the text that has gone out. I've also seen some of the replies that have come out, and I'm going to let you take over and tell us what's going on.
Yeah, everybody needs to be concerned. I stand up on my box like you get on your box every now and then, Lawrence, like you do every now and then too, Kip.
Yeah, I will.
I thought you just had to get on a box yesterday.
Oh, Lord.
Lord.
Did you about whoop some Democrats in the House
again? They
again?
had a free fall up there for a little bit.
No, they come around the back, and I looked at Joe Towns and Antonio Parks, and I said, nope, we're not doing this morning. I ain't got the patience for this. Nope, go back, sit down, turn around. Nope, we're not doing it. I ain't got the patience.
I want to see this.
We're not doing it.
I plan on going Tuesday.
It'll be good.
Can I get in the middle of it?
You have to get, well, we won't have, you can be in committees. Yeah, we won't have a floor session, though. But
okay.
Committees be good, though.
Looking forward to that. I may join you guys as well. But what has happened, and y'all have heard me preach from the State Executive Committee about being a bona fide Republican. Remember, Republican ends in I can. So, there is a big push that, and it's up in your neck of the woods, by the way. There's a big push trying to turn this state purple.
Right.
I've even got a text from that area up northeast of Nashville where they're trying to get us to go purple, which are trying to turn us blue.
Right.
Tennessee is one of the targeted states, and a lot of people don't realize that they're trying to flip. So, because we're so darn conservative, and that's a great thing. But what has happened, Trump, shout out to Donald Trump, glad that Nikki Haley finally saw the light. Maybe Motel 6 left the light on for her.
Somebody needs.
But anyway, she's out of the race, and it's Donald Trump's for the taking. Congratulations. But here's the problem I have. We've got a platform, Kip, Lawrence, that is very important that's coming up We adopted and kept the same platform since 2016, and we adopted it again in 2020 due to that negative 6-letter word, COVID. And now it's coming up again, and these delegates are who vote on our Republican platform.
Right.
So,
which is the best platform I think we've ever had.
That we've ever had.
Absolutely. You're talking about the 2016?
Yeah, the 2016 is the best one we've ever had.
Yeah, we don't need to change it.
No.
Now, the reason I sniffed a little bit, I smelled some rats. Remember that Democrats, last 4-letter is rats.
Right.
And I'm smelling some rats and feces.
Well, you know, the R with the Republican can also stand for reprobate as well.
Oh, yeah, I agree. But here's what's happened. I'm challenging non-bona fide Trump delegates, and I'm not in this by myself. We have a team of us. There's no I in the word team. I haven't found it yet.
Not there.
But I want to tell you, I wrote, with the help of others, there's been several of us that sent challenging non-bona fide Trump delegates. And this went to Clayton Henson, who is one of the main players with the Trump campaign, and Scott Golden, who is the state Republican Party chair. Somebody is asleep at the wheel, and that's bad.
So how many of these people that were Trump delegates, and me and Kip, we actually had a conversation about this last week before we even voted.
Because y'all had never heard of some of these names.
Yeah, I'm asking Kip. I'm like, Kip, who are these
I hadn't
people?
heard of a bunch of them either.
Well, there's 10 out of the 24 that are non-bona fide. So I just said, gentlemen, it's come to my attention there are non-bona fide candidates that have been chosen by the Trump campaign to run as delegates for the 2024 election. On that large ballot in Tennessee, there are candidates who have never voted. Now think about that. How are you going to be bona fide and you never voted?
Never voted, period.
Correct. Several others who do not meet bona fide candidate requirements, and one who does not show having voter credentials available. Think about that. And we're going to let these people vote on our Republican platform?
Right.
This is the most important election in the history of our country. Do you agree with that?
I do.
What about you, Kip?
Yeah, I mean, it's Trump or bust.
That's right. Amen.
Trump or
Our
we're all
liberties
done.
and our constitutional rights are at stake. President Trump has risked his freedom, fortune, and family on fighting for this beloved country. He has been committed to the platform of the Republican Party, and we are convinced that he would not approve of a non-bona fide delegate or delegates who have not demonstrated an allegiance to our platform and may not be beholden to him. Had the Tennessee Republican Party Executive Committee, that would be the SEC, 33 men, 33 women,
Which you're a part of.
which I'm a part of, obtained access to the statewide database, this unfortunate situation could have been avoided. The very least we can do to ensure that President Trump receives bona fide delegates that are committed to him. Please let this email serve as a notice that non-bona fide delegates will be challenged due to not having properly been vetted. And respectively, Chris Morris, Tennessee Republican Party, State Executive Committee man, Senatorial District 28, Great Senator Joy Hensley, which Kip gets to serve in part of that Senatorial District 28.
Yep.
So we got problems. I attached a copy of our Tennessee Republican bylaws to the email because it plainly states in our state bylaws that you have to be bona fide. There again, folks, to be bona fide, you must have voted 3 out of the last 4 statewide primaries, and you could not have a darn D in there anywhere.
Which you can get 2 out of the way this year, by the way.
Oh, yeah, you got one you just passed.
You just did, and then you got another one in August 1.
Yeah, you get 2 stripes.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, something that I saw, and it's kind of disappointing, is that our numbers were actually down this year from 2022 and 2020 even.
It's that assumption.
Yeah.
People don't look at this March presidential primary, as important to get up off of their do-nothing and go vote and exercise one of their rights. That's what is appalling.
Yeah.
And, you know, one thing that Lawrence that I've really been hard on, and you're going to get privy of this real quick, is we've got this big problem in Giles County about liquor by the drink. Now the Christians, it passed in November of 22, and now the Christians are saying, how'd this happen? Well, y'all were asleep at the wheel. And like I've said, I hold ministers in the pulpit responsible. I hold the elders and the deacons of the congregations responsible for not educating their congregants. Same thing. This is important stuff, folks.
Well, I can tell you this, unfortunately, and me and you have talked about this numerous times.
Beating that dead horse or chasing that rabbit.
We are. Church needs to wake up.
It all starts, Brandon Taylor says it perfect, it all starts in the church house.
It does. It all starts in the church house, and we've ignored it. I mean, I'm part of the church. I mean, we're all part of the church.
By the way, we have our Republican meeting this upcoming Thursday, March 14th at 6 o'clock p.m. at the Pulaski Mule Company in Pulaski, and we're going to be showing a documentary by Trevor Loudon called Enemies Within the Church. And you want to talk about an eye-opener. We know what has gone on with the Methodists. We know what's going on with the Catholics. Now we're seeing it in the Baptists.
Yeah.
As bad as we hate to say it, because there's a lot of good, true Baptist men, preachers out there that are preaching the gospel. A lot of great Church of Christ, but we're beginning to let everything go.
It's all going. And you know what? That's why we're involved. I mean, that's why we got Kip up there trying to look out for our best interest.
That's why you got involved with the county.
It is. It absolutely is. Well, the reason I'm here, I'm going to tell you, the reason I'm here is that young man right there. He got me to actually believe in what a politician could be, because I thought all of them were nothing but snakes.
I had a good compliment, and the person, if they listen to this from Lawrence County, will know. You know, one thing that I got behind and was pushing that young man right there, and we worked together on Mark Green's campaign, Manny Sethi for U.S. Senator, and he became like one of mine. I adopted Clay, and I'm adopting Kip, okay? And we did everything we could. We made it work.
Yeah.
Congratulations to this man. He's been a godsend for this District 71, okay? People need to realize what a great leader he is. But when this party over here kind of went kapunk, I was pushing and had things worked out to try to revamp the party over here. And then all at once, kind of the carpet got snatched out from under me, didn't it?
Yeah.
And that was an interesting meeting that night, let me tell you. And a good friend of yours and Kip's brought that up with me the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Sure did. We'll talk about that off there. But that was pretty funny. But listen, enough said about this. We could beat this. Here we go with non-bona fide again. And you want to get the right answer, you got to go to the head of the stream to get the coolest drink of water. So, Scott Golden, you got some explaining to do. This should have been dispersed amongst the state executive committee. There's a GOP database. Y'all have had me to look up people before. Now I have no access to it.
And you know what? That right there, let me ask you something. Doesn't the Republican Party of Tennessee answer to the 66 SEC members? Aren't you guys the ones that kind of control?
Yes, sir.
So why are you letting a couple of people take that power away from you guys to be able to check to see if someone has actually voted and they're actually voting as a Republican?
I think some of this come to play because, I got involved in looking at this database, and I'd have, Kip, I think you even asked me to check some people.
Yeah, I've had you check out a couple people.
Lewis County had me to check people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Clay Doggett's had me to check people. And we start checking people, and you find out things, you start smelling. And you start checking these folks out, and they're not Republicans. They're trans Republicans.
Right.
So you got to be careful. And I know that Williamson County was the biggest reorg that in the state, and I was involved in that along with my counterpart Angie McClanahan. I want to give a shout out to her. She does a great job as well. But there were people trying to participate in that election up there, same thing over in Sumner County, that were not bona fide Republicans.
Right.
And I wouldn't let them in to participate, and they would create, here would go an argument, well, I've been a Republican. Well, your voting record don't show it.
Right.
And people don't like to be told because they hadn't been going and voting. And so they didn't meet the status to hold an office or to vote in a county reorganization. And that created a lot of waves. Well, and then I had controversy with other state executive committee members who were saying, well, I've known them all my life. They've been Republican. They give money to Marsha Blackburn or Bill Haggerty. Well, I didn't have the proof. I mean,
Democrats give money to Republicans
showed
too.
It wasn't, and that was proof enough for me.
Democrats give money to Republicans too. That don't mean nothing.
Well, that's right. I think I proved that. I think Clay Doggett will remember that clearly. One time that we were involved in something and got a phone call, and I said, let me tell you, you check their status. They give both to the Democrat candidate and the Republican candidate. So what does that tell you? It don't pass the smell test.
Yeah.
So, hey, we've had enough about this. We got a great guest here. Got two great guests.
Yeah, we got two great guests, but Mike, you had come to my attention from a good friend of mine. And Mike, like I said earlier, is with American Independent Power. Mike, can you tell people how they could contact you?
Yeah, you can actually go to our website at aipowerllc.com. And there's a contact page. You can actually email me directly from that contact page, and there's a phone number. I can actually even, if permitted, at some point, give my direct cell contact.
Yeah, you can give it now if you want to.
If you want to write this down, my direct cell contact is 813-205-3281. And I will be glad to talk to anybody about their power needs or questions that they might have, because we're here to serve the community.
I've got a question right out the gate.
Well, hang on. I need to get that website again.
aipowerllc.com.
.com. Okay. All right, go, Chris.
Well, the only thing, and I understand where you're coming from, but explain to our listeners what independent power. A lot of folks may think,
the independent power is you owning your power. You not buying your power necessarily from the utility or being controlled by the utility. We're giving both residential and commercial customers the opportunity to have their primary power owned by themselves with a utility as a standby.
As a backup.
Right.
Okay. Fair enough.
And it's working great.
Well, and I'm going to tell you why it's important to me is that, I've been studying this for 15 years myself, and that's a blackout event, whether it's through man-made or solar. There's something that's called an EMP, which is an electromagnetic pulse. I'm not going to get too scientific in it because Mike can get into it, but I do know this. Even our Congress in the United States and our Senate in the United States, all the way up even to Newt Gingrich, has said that our American power grid is very, very susceptible to just about anything, whether it could be a terrorist attack, whether it could be an EMP from the sun, and it could even be taken out through somebody could take out a transformer with a gun even.
Right.
I mean, our power is so easily, vulnerable. You know, people think about, okay, hurricanes, tornadoes, and things like that. Yeah, that can take out your power for weeks or months even. But there's a lot of other things that can happen, and I'm going to let you explain that, Mike.
Yeah, the landscape's actually really changed. If you stop and think about how our power grid was born, it's more than 100 years old. And it happened long before any of these threats were really apparent.
Keep going.
Keep going.
So you look at, basically we have a completely open society. And what we're looking at is substations that are easily accessible, transmission lines that you can drive under, that you could, actually have access to all of the infrastructure you want. But it's because we live in a free and open society. And so while not faulting the utility companies for creating that, or the government or the Federal Energy Regulatory Committee for regulating it in that fashion, we've become vulnerable through the intrusion of illegals in large part. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade.
Chinese nationalists, number one.
Well, at large, anyone who comes into this country that can't be vetted is a threat. There are people here who are a threat all by themselves. There's been more than 318 reported incidents in the last 3 years of assaults.
You're talking about domestic terrorists.
Well, yeah, not MAGAs.
I thought you meant that was Democrats. But anyway, go ahead.
But there's been more than 300 events and assaults on substations and the utility at large just in the last 3 years.
Outside of a squirrel or a snake.
Outside of a squirrel or a snake. And what a lot of people don't know, the event that took out the entire Northeast and including Canada in, was it 2010-ish, that big Northeastern event that was
11,
we were weeks without power in that part of the country.
Yes.
That was actually caused by human error. Okay, I won't get into the real details, but a single human being actually caused that cascade, and it was a mistake. It was unintended. Now, the terrorists since then, if you look at the increased events that have taken place since 2010, 2011, that basically set the groundwork for, now that the internet is alive and well and basically broadcasting the how-tos of all of these things, just basically pointed people at how to disable the U.S. grid. The most concerning part of that is there are 5 nodes in the United States. There are 4 main transformers that if you take out any one of those, you can black out a significant portion of the United States. There's the Western, the Eastern, the Texas. Those are the different nodes that connect to one another. But if you took out any one of those major transformers, it takes 2 years minimum to build one of those. So you've got that entire part of the country out. Waiting for 2 years minimum.
That's the reason I wanted him on here.
This is a question. Are a lot of these major transformers built in Germany?
Some are built in Germany.
By Siemens?
Yes.
Okay.
That's one of the manufacturers. There's Chinese and Swiss, but Germany is where we would likely get a replacement transformer. But it takes 2 years to build one.
You know, the bad thing is Germany right now, they're having a tough time with their own power source because of Russia.
Well, and that's the other part of it. There's a lot of things that cause a cascading effect in how we deal with and respond to threats and actual events. Well, that's all out the window. You know, what we could do 10 years ago, we can't do today. It's just like if you look at an EMP, a significant EMP event, Well, it's not that easily defined because there are cascading elements of that that cause damage downstream. So while everything may not be fried instantly because of an EMP, whether it was a Carrington-type event or a nuclear EMP, the things that would happen after the controls are fried to, say, power generators, the large-scale outputs, the 10, 20, 80-megawatt generators in the power stations themselves, they would just get into runaway events and destroy themselves. So while those wouldn't be fried immediately, the controls that are fried wouldn't be usable. And so we've lost our ability over the decades to respond to or resist these kinds of events.
So I got a question for you on that then. So if we know that these take 2 years to build, are these in control of private corporations or is this government controlled?
Private corporations.
Okay, so why wouldn't the private corporations have one sitting around
Standby.
on standby?
Yeah, that's a great question, but it's not practical. What one of these things cost, you could feed a small country for 2 years. I mean,
Okay.
it's just not practical from a cost perspective. You can't. Nobody would fund that. And see, that's the other reason why our grid isn't being protected. It's not political, it's economic. And a lot of people don't realize if there's no economic incentive to do something, whether it's in private industry or the government, the utilities won't protect us or protect the utility, because if an event happens, they'll rely on the government to pay for it. And there's no economic incentive for the utility to pay for it in advance of an event.
Or have one in inventory.
Right.
Or have one in inventory, right. I mean, it's just really not practical. And there are even smaller,
That's why I wanted to get him on here, Chris,
right,
to explain these things.
There's no need to raise political sand over some of these things just because they're driven by economics. And you would just go broke trying to do that. So it's really a lot easier to try to look at things at the community level. Let's protect ourselves individually and as a community, because that's, first of all, it's more practical. It's easier to do. It's lower cost, and the individual can afford some sort of home power. For example, one of the kits, smaller kits that we sell and others sell as well, can be financed, but they're only a couple of $1,000s. But you've got perpetual power for as long as an outage is in effect, that you can operate your refrigeration, your communications, all of your very basics, CPAP,
For a couple of
oxygen,
$1,000s.
A couple of $1,000s, right. Yeah, and that's on our website, and it's on other people's websites. But here's one of the things. We've actually pioneered a lot of this stuff. Until we started doing behind-the-meter solutions, getting rid of the utility, doing complete kits that are basically idiot-proof. I mean, they're color-coded. You plug them in. You don't even really need to know how to read.
Hey, I can do that one.
Yeah,
too.
me too. Yeah.
I mean,
You're saying they're color-coded.
They're color-coded.
They keep it simple and sincere.
so dumb rednecks like me and you can do it.
And I would never say that on air,
Well, I will. I'm a Florida guy,
but
so
I'm a guest.
You're fine.
Yeah.
So-
You just act like one of us.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, there's a lot of the things that we deal with are hyped up and overblown by people on the web that want to have a voice, but they're not actually giving you the whole truth. There's real threats, there's perceived threats, and there's practical actions that people can take. And there's things that the federal government will absolutely never fix because of the political advantage it gives both parties during the election cycle. I mean, you're just not going to see that happen. I've been doing this for 50 years. Okay?
But you're bringing PM to us. Preventive maintenance.
Right.
Think about it.
Personal responsibility and preventive maintenance.
we're all about personal responsibility here. I mean,
That's good PR.
But
Yeah.
we will. Look, we spend a lot of time trying to educate people, encourage people, help them understand that your needs can be met cost effectively, and it's survival, not comfort.
right.
And so if you can afford comfort, we can do that too. But we can help you with your survival well beyond any event that takes place, and help your family survive, but more importantly, we're trying to keep society from descending into complete anarchy.
Chaos.
Because here's what happens. Now, I've served in Haiti for a long, long time, and I've seen what a camping trip looks like. I mean, these people are living at their basic level. The complete disregard for human value lives in Haiti.
Right.
Because these people have nothing, absolutely nothing. And so when you have nothing to lose. And this people in this country will descend into complete chaos and anarchy as soon as the utility disappears, and it can't be restored within a month.
See, I don't know how true
I would
it is.
say less than that, a week.
Well, sure, but
Yeah.
if there's any encouragement that or any broadcasts that say, hey, we're going to fix this, but in the case of an EMP or some man-made event, or even a natural, but more overly the man-made events, the big transformers might be taken out by terror or vandalism, and it doesn't have to be a terrorist. It just has to be an idiot with a high-powered rifle.
A 50 cal.
Well, that's a terrorist.
There you go.
I mean, let's think.
Well,
face
sure,
it.
but I mean,
or even an
our
accident.
traditional. Well, you're not going to accidentally shoot that big.
No, I'm talking about what you were talking about, the one event back in 2011.
Right, it could have just been a technician doing the wrong thing and creating a cascading event. Then that's a big uh-oh.
Two things that you can help with that it will expedite this is, number one, the very, very cold spell that we had in January.
Right.
And say, like last year, not this year, but last year, they were having the rolling blackouts. Okay. We didn't have them this year.
Right.
Okay. But let's talk about it. Got down in our neck of the woods 14 to 16 below air temperature,
Right.
not including wind chill in this region, and it was below zero for 3 continuous nights. Okay. So we got that. But the most recent thing, which didn't really deal with the energy grid, but it dealt with everybody winning absolute chaos twice recently with the outage, national outage that AT&T had,
Right.
and then the election day this past week with this Facebook Messenger, everybody, and Instagram, they started getting up in arms. Oh God, I've lost my social media. What am I gonna do?
People lost their phone for 8 hours, and they were about to lose their mind. And you know what? I read a study on this, and it dealt with drowning rats. And they put in a rat in a bucket, and the rat didn't know if it could survive or not. Sink or swim. And it only lasted for 2 hours, and it died. Then they took another rat, and they gave it the ability to get on something just for a little bit.
To
survive. And they took it off, and that rat made it for 24 hours because it had hope.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's the same. I've read numerous books on this, and this is one reason I wanted Mike in here. And all these books are only theories, okay? But we talk about conspiracy theories all the time, and a lot of these conspiracy theories wind up turning into theories. But one of the things it talked about was due to an EMP event, 90% of the population they estimated would be gone in a year's time.
And that's
Because
probably
they can't live off the land.
That's correct.
well, right, and that's part of what I wanted to try to emphasize in terms of starting with the church community,
Yeah.
and having organized discussions about how do we take care of ourselves first, and then how do we help take care of the community, and you have to start with power, because without power, everything grinds to a halt, and people lose their minds. Now, imagine this entire country being plunged into.
Wait a minute. We could move to Etheridge with the Amish. Think about it. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, they'll survive very, very nicely. because
Kip would make a good-looking Amish, wouldn't he? I mean,
They just ride down the road.
They have a few strawberry blonde Amish.
they got a bunch of red-headed Amish.
Solve the
Red-headed stepchild.
inbred problem too. That's all that.
Oh Lord, have mercy. Here we go. You're gonna go down that rabbit hole.
Don't
But
say
go
the
ahead.
quiet part out loud.
But if you plunge an entire country into darkness.
Immortal chaos.
Right. I mean, if there's no technology available, and everybody knows that there's no technology available, you can probably count on, one hand the number of people in a community that would actually survive after 3 months.
Really? So
yeah.
What I read is even worse. What you think?
Oh, it's much worse than what you read.
Okay.
Yeah, it's much worse. Having served in the military, having served as a missionary in 11 different countries, I've seen what humanity can degrade to when there's no hope, when there's nothing, when there's no resources. And because the Westerners, people in developed nations, they weren't trained to do that. They have no idea how to take care of themselves. So look at the way things went in the Superdome after Katrina.
Oh, yeah.
It took 3 days to get water in there. These people were ready to eat themselves. But imagine a nation that's there. They know their grid is gone. They know that there's no communication, and they know that there's no help coming. I mean, first you'll see a caste society, then you'll see the stronger preying on the weak, and then you'll see gangs, and pretty soon they'll kill each other off just for food and water.
God will be like the Walking Dead.
It will be literal hell on earth. And, we're not trained for that. Most people just don't know how to do it.
So are you preparing us to get corn cobs back out?
No.
And
no,
trying to find the Sears and Roebuck catalog?
Yeah. No, just go get you some toilet paper, Chris.
Yeah.
Either that or Mullen. Mullen will work too.
We got to have a little.
We stocked up.
We got to have a little fun in here,
Sure.
a little humor.
But
humor makes good.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, look, there's a responsible way for everybody to act, and we try to encourage people, make sure you have enough of everything. So if you can't leave your home safely for a month, your family can survive. I mean, a minimum of a month, because it'll take that long for the dust to settle and for people to stop freaking out long enough to talk to each other and to start getting reasonable communication.
There we go.
Communications.
You have to make sure that you can communicate. So you need power.
What they teach in military, if you leave to communicate, if you leave the I and the C out of, let's see, the U and the I out of communicate, you communicate. So we got to learn to keep that U and I in communicate.
Right, and it's proper planning, and I'm sorry, Lawrence, making the time.
Right.
We are busy, and we're busy doing important things, but on the day when power disappears for whatever reason, we're going to regret not having taken enough time to make the plan and prepare responsibly.
Whatever that perfect storm may be.
It doesn't even have to be a perfect storm. It just has to be an idiot with a log chain or a 50 cal.
That perfect storm is encompassing everything. That's what I'm saying, from the people with the 50 cal or they may drag in a 155 howitzer for all I know.
Well, and God forbid another Carrington event happens. What a lot of people don't realize, and I know you've read up on this, but the amount of energy that it takes to disable the entire utility grid, among other things, is enormous.
Right.
I mean, the Carrington event generated enough energy. I think it was like 10 billion, the equivalent of 10 billion tons of TNT. Now, if you convert that energy in joules to watts, there's not enough room for the zeros you need to put on this page to tell you how much energy that is. But it also generated enough energy to melt platinum contacts. 3,096 degrees is the melting point. Now, that's a lot of energy.
The wires glowed red.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So if you can melt, platinum,
you're doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Kip, have you guys have any conversation in Tennessee about this? Because you dealt with what happened with the water situations with numerous people. You were having to get involved and help people with water.
Monty Fritz, shout out Monty Fritz from East Tennessee, is doing some energy trying to set up some kind of energy board. I know we've already got several of them set up in utility boards. I think Clark Boyd's the chair of the utility committee. But Monty Fritz is taking it. Him, John Reagan, shout out John Reagan from East Tennessee. He's also a representative, former colonel in the military. They've got some things that they're working on together, I think, just to kind of increase awareness about Tennessee's energy. And, of course, we've got Oak Ridge, which is, one of the 5 targets in the U.S. that if we were going to get attacked, it would probably be it.
Well, and the interesting thing about mentioning Oak Ridge is actively doing EMP testing on transformers to see what energy level is required or what level of EMP is required, E1, E2, E3, to fry different size transformers. And so they're actively doing that. And they're coming up with some interesting results.
Yeah.
And they're not good.
They're not.
They're not good. Out of 20 of one particular size transformer with an E1, which is really kind of a low energy EMP, relatively speaking, 3 melted the copper coils and did away with the internal insulation.
Sounds like we need to get Mike in contact with Monty.
Yeah, Monty and John Reagan.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's true.
They're very, Monty and they're both a wealth of knowledge on this stuff, which Monty, he worked in, I don't want to overstate.
He's military,
and he's real,
Yeah.
he worked for something that had to do with energy and utilities while he was
We'd
in
love to help advise
Can't remember.
And
anybody.
very scriptural.
Yes,
Good.
he is.
On top of
He is, yeah, that's true. Yeah, shout out Monty Fritz. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a great guy.
Yeah, we can give some good practical advice to politicians and to government how to help the communities without spending a gob of money.
I make a motion, we put Kip in charge of that. You want a second?
Yeah,
All right.
There's a reason you came on, wasn't
There
it?
you go.
We can get
You
that
got to
done.
put something else in your pipe.
There we go.
That's right. Something else to do, Kip.
I'll give you one of mine.
What do you want?
What else you need?
That's right.
Put that in your bucket list.
Yes, sir.
Well, I tell you this, I'm speechless right now is what I am because,
You're thinking. Your
well,
wheels are turning.
my wheels are turning
Your glare's getting brighter.
because Mike, you've actually made it a lot worse than I thought it was. I'm going to be honest.
That wasn't
with
my
you.
intention.
well, no. I mean, I have always looked at it as not being as vulnerable as we are when it comes to our electricity. And we've seen this. I mean, Chris, Kip, I don't know about you, but we had terrible water problems
Oh, God.
during the freeze that we had.
Well, Giles County was #1 in the state.
Well, let's be honest.
And y'all were right behind
Every
us.
time anything happens, TVA will say, "Prepare for a rolling blackout."
Right.
And then it either happens or it doesn't. And I think the last time that it happened was the first time since the 40s or something.
Do you know
They went
Kip,
out, but every time a storm hits, TVA will put out, "Be ready,
Be ready.
be ready for a rolling
Be
blackout.
ready.
Be ready.
Now,
Watch out."
do you know what town was the first town in Tennessee to receive electricity?
Give me some hints. I like a guessing game.
Your neighboring,
I'm neighboring. Is it in Lawrence County?
Pulaski.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
it was the first town. Pretty
Really?
neat.
Yeah.
In case that's at Mexican trivia,
Yeah.
you'll get the question. But
There's a couple things about Pulaski I think would be on Mexican trivia.
yeah. And here we go.
Could it have to do with Bedford, Nathan Bedford Forrest?
We're also dog it. A great guy from over in Memphis that taught pharmaceuticals at the University of Memphis for 30 years is from Pulaski, and he's wanting to really get into, and Clay may have mentioned to you about the naming of Pulaski from Count Casimir Pulaski.
Yes.
You know, and there's a lot going on. There's a big push on that, and to have a day for him. And I think there's 9 other cities in the United States, cities named after Count Casimir Pulaski. But the other thing too is I'm thinking, and you've got my wheels turning. I feel the little cobwebs there too. They need a little grease.
Right.
But think about this. We're going back to the 1870s. If something happens like this today, we would be bounced back to around 1870 or
Go back another 100.
1700s?
Go back another 100.
You think?
Yeah.
So it's knocking out
Because
theoretically.
because even up into the early 1800s, there was some technology. There was some work with electricity.
With Thomas Edison.
So you really need to go back into the 1700s
Well, even
to be completely devoid of any technology. And imagine being part of the 1700s. That was not a great period for healthy people in this.
No, people didn't survive too long back then. Yeah, that was tough.
Unless, it was less than a year ago, I was at Thomas Jefferson's Monticello. And it was pretty impressive what all that guy did. Not only with the writing of the Constitution, but everything else of the inventions that were there.
We had people without water for, some people were out for 7 days, 3 weeks, even the people for 3 or 4 days.
Well, see,
and you would have thought that the world was coming to an end.
That's the thing you really want to pay attention to, because it's not that you can't use your phone. By the way, if an EMP strong enough to fry your phone came along, you wouldn't really care because the cell network is gone too. So don't worry about your phone.
Well, you can forget cars and trucks too, right? They're done
For a lot of them.
Yes.
For a lot of them, but not all. And again, that's that
or...
weird effect that EMPs can have or not have, depending on whether something is plugged in. I mean, it's the whole topic of EMPs is topical.
Lord, what are we gonna do?
Well, it's topical quicksand. Because you can come from a lot of different technical directions, and everyone can be right in certain circumstances. So EMP is completely circumstantial in terms of how effective the EMP is, or how broadly it damages electronics.
You know what you made me think when you started saying more and more about the EMP? I'm thinking about the EVs. What in the world are we going to do?
They wouldn't have to worry about it.
Electrical vehicles.
Yeah, they wouldn't be.
You got a very heavy paperweight.
But I'm thinking back, like in the 1870s, just what we've read in history and stuff. The bells would come back. Do you understand what I'm saying? When the bells?
Yeah.
And at the church they had a bell tower, and they would ring the bell, or at the cemetery they'd ring the bell. That meant there was a problem. We need help. So we'll go back to the bell mentality.
With the ones that'll survive.
Yeah. Now, you wasn't here. You wasn't living here, and you heard about it. You was old enough. He wasn't old enough. It's a faint memory for him, or you've heard your mom talk about it, I know, and your dad. But the ice, they may not have been living here when we had the ice storm.
When?
Back in 94? The great ice storm that paralyzed this area? Giles, Lawrence.
They had...
Yeah, it was like 3 weeks.
Yeah, local fire departments were packed out and had people sleeping in sleeping
churches.
bags and churches, and I remember hearing about that. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I want to get back to a point here, because when you mentioned phones gone, cars gone, as bad as it was for the water, people still could pick up that phone, call their neighbor, or get in their car and drive to Walmart to get water if to drink.
Get it from me.
But water will disappear when the power disappears.
That's correct.
To generate.
And then
water.
gas. I mean, you're not refilling the gas stations are going to run out of gas pumps. You're not going to be able to pull it out of the tanks.
The local water utility districts will cease to operate because they can't pump water anywhere.
That's right.
So your faucet will go empty.
We go to the creek.
Not everybody has one.
Yeah, it goes
That's
to the
right.
creek.
And the urban areas will be in the worst
It'll be
possible
a hellhole.
shape. It will.
War zone.
People will
Ground
literally be
zero.
killing each other for one of these.
Think about Atlanta. Just Atlanta.
Think about Nashville.
Well, think about Nashville.
Well, they
true.
got the river, though.
Memphis.
They got the Cumberland River.
Memphis got Mississippi.
Yeah.
But
Then you'll see waterborne diseases. People will
That's
be
right.
dying for that because the people won't be
Boiling
filtering, and even boiling water doesn't always do it.
Really?
Oh no! Good
Really?
gosh, there's enough pathogens in standing water that boiling it won't completely protect you.
So what about like the like these water filters, like Berkey water filters and stuff?
Now that's we actually created what was called a sand filter in Haiti, and they were actually pouring stuff out of their privies into these sand filters and getting clean, potable water.
Really?
Oh yeah.
So the
yeah.
Berkey filters will work even where boiling water won't,
Correct.
or a Sawyer filter
But
will
if you had
work.
a running creek or running stream or something, as long as
Yeah,
you take it
there-
from
You
the-
can
from
take-
the
yeah, you
flow.
can take water
Unless
out
somebody
of
took a
it.
pee downstream from
Well,
you.
But boiling it would actually.
Boil
That makes
Yeah.
you branch, Ken.
Yeah, but I'm just,
There's
I'm
bacteria
always.
and pathogens and other critters in the
Yeah,
water, especially in
absolutely.
standing water.
Yeah.
Running creek, things like that. A
little bit cleaner.
you can't really educate the whole country on stuff like
Exactly.
that. And so the smart money is let's focus on what we
The
can.
community.
Let's focus on what we can do.
Right.
And what they can all practically pull together to do, and that is make sure that there is power for that little group of people.
And see, here's the thing, though, Mike, and I don't know if people caught this, but I caught it. One, your military background. Two, you're a missionary, and some of the worst places to be a missionary in, you've got to see what it is like to live without anything.
And what inspired me in Haiti to work with water was the first time I landed in Haiti with Missionary Ventures to do a site survey to see what we do there.
Yeah.
I saw 5- and 6-year-olds carrying full buckets of water on their heads miles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, nothing will change your life faster than seeing a 5- or 6-year-old carrying 30 or 40 pounds of water on their head when they don't weigh that themselves 2 or 3 miles.
Yeah,
And it's dirty
Wow.
water to boot.
Yeah, we went to the Dominican Republic in high school and did a mission trip, and we were bringing them bags of rice and mosquito nets, and you would have thought that we were delivering them bars of gold. I mean, living in mud huts.
Well, you know what?
Sleeping
When
in
you don't
hammocks.
have anything, that's more important than gold.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the pot kids. What's the technical term? It's pot belly, but
It's
what's
pot belly, yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
I don't know what the.
Where they have that.
It's a
swollen-
bacterial bloat.
Yeah, bacterial bloat.
Wow.
That's sad. It is. We're blessed, and it could all change.
But we're not just blessed. We're spoiled.
We are.
And that
Amen.
until the last 10 years, that probably wouldn't have been a problem.
Yeah.
But now, with so many different possibilities, and with the internet and with social media and the information to do harm, to do damage, so readily available, any high school kid or any out of work person who's disgruntled can now become a threat to the whole community by just doing something really stupid. Don't know if you've seen some of these videos of people creating EMP generators just to try to to kill a phone or something like that. We actually, about 10 years ago, trying to work with law enforcement, created one of the first directional EMPs, or one of the first portable EMPs.
Really?
To help disable vehicles in a chase, instead of throwing out the spike strip. But they were so expensive that none of the communities would actually buy them. But what it did was it proved that you could do a portable EMP, and somebody could actually drag a full-sized suitcase past a ticket counter in an airport and wipe out all of the computers on that ticket counter.
Wow.
Really?
And it would be almost completely undetectable. So the possibility for somebody to actually create that and put that much energy in a small package. I mean, one of my favorite movies is Ocean's 11, where you see that van that's got the EMP in the back of it, and what it does to that van is small change compared to what it would actually do in terms of turning that thing into a twisted pile of metal. But
See, I've always had this. I've always wanted this. When the people drive by you and you're at the red light and they're playing their music so loud, it's vibrating in your car. I've always wanted a little thing I could just turn it off, from my car.
all you have to do is go online and you too can build one.
Give him something like that. Lord, you'd have a disaster in Lawrence.
Google EMP generators and you'll get the instructions on how to build one.
Listen, you know, we always say this. This is the fastest hour. And it's been a pleasure having you on the program.
Well, thank you.
And we hope we can get you back. I'd love to talk with you further. Is there anything in closing that you can think of that?
There is, and thank you for asking. I'd like to close with Galatians 6:10. Therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially to those who belong to the family of believers. And I say that because if we make sure that believers are equipped and cared for first, they can then still do the work that they've been called to by the Lord to preach the gospel, bring the message of salvation, and bring comfort to everybody else. So let's take care of each other. Let's do the responsible things, and we're available for anything that anybody needs.
It's been a pleasure, Lawrence.
Yep.
I'm so glad. Kip, you got anything?
Yeah, you got 2 minutes. Kip, I want you to tell us. We got 2 minutes. Tell us what's going on.
Well, we got a lot of stuff going on. You know, just stay plugged in on the education stuff. We're still working through that. I'm not on any of the committees that goes through, thank the good Lord and Greyhound.
There's 3 different type bills of this school.
Yeah,
choice.
so there's the House version, which I'm obviously the biggest fan of because I'm in the House and I think it's the best for public education. There's the Senate version, and then and then there's the governor's version. So, you know, they're all different. None of them are like the other. The Senate version is kind of more just straight vouchers from what I've seen. They've got a little public education stuff in there, but it's not like ours. The House version is public education funding increases with, you know, a little dash of voucher action going on. So pay attention to that. That's going to be probably another monthly process. They spent almost 5 hours in committee on that this week. You'll hear a lot of discussion about that going forward. Pay attention, and if any of y'all want to come up on March 19th, that's going to be Ag Day. It's also going to be Gun Calendar Day. We're hearing all the gun bills on March 19th. That'll be both Democrats and Republicans bills filed. I think Pearson's filed 4 or 5 red flag laws, and Jones has got some stupid ones too. And there's some other Democrats who just have some idiotic bills. So if y'all want some entertainment,
this is the Rich Eisen
come on
Show.
March 19th.
Live from the Rich Eisen Show studio in Los Angeles.
Thank you, Mike. As American Independent Power, www.aippowerllc.com, 813-205-3281. Go to our YouTube, and we will have Mike's information on our YouTube page. Have a good day. God bless Lawrence County and Tennessee. Goodbye.